I would like to remind the viewers that you're about to watch something potentially spoiler related. If you want to be surprised by the extended levels of the SPV3 campaign, close this video and download the mod. The link will be in the description. You have been warned. Also, if you haven't watched the first two parts of this extensive overview of SPV3, annotations will pop up on the screen now so you can watch them first. Once you're done, return back here. The Halo SPV3 campaign is a truly one-of-a-kind experience. It takes the combat evolved adventure we've all grown to love and transforms it into a new and exciting journey to the point where it could very well be its own game. What makes SPV3 outclass Combat Evolved Anniversary are not only the new weapons, vehicles, equipment, and enemy types, but also the addition of completely new play spaces within the campaign missions that still give off that classic Halo 1 feel, which allows it to not detract from the overall experience. These new areas breathe in new life to areas that we have already mastered and presents new challenges for die-hard fans of the first game. Not only that, some of the traditional encounters that we have grown used to have received changes themselves. We'll go over these adjustments shortly, and how they affect the play spaces we have been accustomed to for so long. On the Vengeful Vatum, we'll be diving into the first 3 released missions of the Halo SPV3 campaign and see what makes them tick. There are 6 missions released in SPV3 so far: the Pillar of Autumn, Halo, Truth and Reconciliation, the Silent Cartographer as well as its evolved version, and Assault on the Control Room. The missions dealing with the latter half of the Halo 1 campaign will be released at a later time. For now, we'll be going over what we have so far. The SPV3 campaign contains plenty of new features for the Halo 1 experience. Just like in Halo Anniversary, there are various collectibles that can be acquired throughout your run-throughs of the game. Multiple terminals are located in hidden parts of each level that, when found, show the player a text document that expands on the Halo lore in various ways. Skulls can also be found, but these can only be found on the Legendary and Noble difficulties. These skulls are entirely new to the Halo franchise, and a lot of them are highly unforgiving when you turn them on. Another new aspect of the Halo campaign scene are Savable Checkpoints. Tired of having to deal with a tedious encounter and the game won't save your game? You now have the power to do so. Just pause the game, and the save checkpoint option is right there. Hey 343, remember those notes I told you to start taking? Put this one underneath the War Dog's health packs. Get things by? The most important new aspect of the SPV3 campaign are both changes to existing encounters that appear on each level and the extended missions. These two factors are some of the biggest reasons that make this mod so special. I won't go over literally each and every encounter in the game, just some of the most noteworthy changes that you'll come across. Remember, this is spoiler territory, so like I said in the beginning of the video, turn back now and play the mod for yourself if you don't want the entire surprises spoiled for you. This is your final warning. Anyways, let's begin. This is not the same Pillar of Autumn that you fought your way through back in 2001. It's a new beast altogether. To assist the humans, auto turrets provide suppressive fire and can be turned on or off via control panels that are located nearby. Most importantly, due to the invasive intent of the Covenant and the destruction that comes with it, the gravity in the ship has started to fluctuate, causing anything in the vicinity to float like astronauts would do in today's space stations.
Gravity terminal in section C is offline.
At the start of the level, you are given a pistol from Captain Keyes just like in the base game, but you are actually seeing yourself hold up the weapon at that specific moment rather than having to walk down the hall where the grunts are. There are a few things to know about this and why it's significant. First off, the pistol itself has no ammunition inside it, making Keyes' statement about it not being loaded actually true. Second, the fact you hold up the pistol now rather than in a few seconds fixes the infamous 3 weapons glitch that this level is known for, where you skip the checkpoint near the grunts, grab 2 weapons further on, and then come back to reactivate the checkpoint to gain your 3rd weapon in the form of the pistol. Many of the encounters have received some minor changes, but not a whole lot of them were too drastic to the point where you had to develop new strategies entirely, other than the ones you had to make when getting used to the new weapons. There are a few exceptions, however. In various encounters, you'll have access to the auto turrets mentioned earlier. You'll walk up to the control panel and activate it, which will cause a turret to deploy in their room, which will assist you in mowing down the enemies around you. Your first encounter with the brutes are in the
Covenant on the landing above us
section. This particular skirmish can be daunting for those not used to facing the brutes here because of the introduction of the explosive brute shot, which does tremendous amount of damage to you, especially if you're on a harder difficulty. Not only that, if you don't have a headshot weapon on hand, these enemies take a ton of punishment and will cause you to be distracted by the other enemies around you. The most important change to this level is the extended section of this mission. When going through the second set of maintenance access ways, you'll notice an incline that wasn't there before. Walking over it will lead to a brand new geometry for this level. It was quite a surreal experience for me during my first run through of this level, seeing new areas of the Pillar of Autumn I've never come across all those years ago. It really makes the Pillar of Autumn feel larger than it used to, which helps to identify this play space as part of an actual Halcyon class cruiser. One of the biggest aspects of this new play space is the anti-gravity. The level design perfectly incorporates this new feature into the gameplay, with the level geometry taking inspiration from the multiplayer map boarding action. With all the verticality going on here, you're capable of getting the jump on your enemies from multiple angles. By the way, the way your character just floats around in anti-gravity is some of the most graceful things I've ever seen in Halo.
Огонь по готовности!
Last thing to mention about the new areas of the Pillar of Autumn are the Hunters. In the original game, your first encounter with these beasts were in the third mission of the game, Truth and Reconciliation, but in SPV3, they're here much earlier, and they're a tough adversary in a section of the game with little access to explosive weaponry other than the brute shot. Your best bet is to use need alert based weaponry, since one super combined explosion will take one down.
At last! Are you alright? Can you move?
Out of the first 3 missions, Halo, the second mission, has received the most amount of drastic changes. Unlike the original, you start off with Johnson and other Marine survivors instead of starting off alone. The landscape is lusher overall with plenty more greenery compared to the original. Blind wolves also inhabit areas throughout the mission. As long as you don't take their waffles, they'll leave you alone. Notable changes to some of the existing encounters we are already used to are as follows. Skirmishers are immediately introduced right after you cross a bridge next to the crash site. The sniper rifle appears much earlier in the mission and is available to you at the first building you see. The Gungoose gets dropped off along with the Warthog, immediately followed by a new encounter of enemies blocking your path to the quote-unquote natural cave formation. 2 ghosts make their first appearance here as well. The Ghost now appears way earlier in the campaign, where its original introduction was on the Assault on the Control Room mission. Last thing to note, another Ghost, this one being unused, is waiting for your use at the end of the light bridge that you activate. A short trip through the tunnel will lead you to the extended part of this mission, and it's a massive trek. Your first new mission is to rescue Marines that have been captured and taken hostage by the brutes. Wait, why do I recognize that voice? Jenkins! You're still alive? Chief! Best buddy! You're here to rescue me! Best buddy? Okay, 1, never call me that again. Ever. 2, what I really should be doing is leaving your ass in this cell. In case you forgot, you left me for dead to those wolf things, you asshole! Whoa, you're letting me out. I can't stand one more second with this Mongoloid over here. Hey! I'm not a Mongolian. Oh, for fuck's sake. Now you see why I can't let him out? Who are you, anyway? The name's Hank. At least let me out. I didn't do shit to you, pal. To be fair, he's still alive. You could have killed him, you know. Hey, that's not very nice. You shut the hell up, as if you're one to talk. Do you even hear yourself, boy? You're asking me to commit treason. You're fucked in the head, man. You'd be fucked in the head, too, if you were in my shoes. I was taken away from my parents at the age of 6 to be indoctrinated in the fucking military. Guys? Humanity's greatest weapons at the expense of my fucking childhood. And all of it led up to what? Being in the same guys? As this fucking dumbass, ultimately eaten by space wolves? Guys! What? The video editor's gonna kill us for making the scene too long. Don't you break the 4th wall on me, Jenkins! I've already had enough of your shit as it is. I'm sorry. I was just so hungry. I didn't know taking the waffles will hurt the doggy's feelings. Why couldn't that corpse be you up there? What was that? Nothing. Once you release the trapped Marines, Sheila Pulaski, a completely new character to the game with her own voice actor, informs you about a certain base of operations that is under siege by Wraith Tanks and other Covenant units. This is Alpha Base. If you're familiar with the novel Hail of the Flood, you'll know about both Pulaski and Alpha Base and their significance to the Battle of Installation 04. Seeing them brought to life in a 3D setting is a surreal experience on its own. Once they're either destroyed or hijacked, waves of Covenant dropped by Phantoms will come in and to continue harassing you in the base. One thing to know about this section is that the pacing here is kinda slow. The Phantoms don't come in a quick succession, so you'll be awkwardly standing around waiting for more Covenant to mercilessly slaughter, while upbeat music is playing in the background, but it's a minor inconvenience at worst. There are many ways to go about completing this part of the mission, and that highlights an issue with a lot of the levels in the newer Halo games. Many of the missions in Halo titles of recent years are highly linear and keep you confined into one space with limited access to the overall sandbox of the game. This level, however, does the opposite. You can hijack a Wraith and dish out a ton of damage that way, stay on foot at the edge of Alpha Base and take enemies out from afar, or use one of the 4 vehicles provided in the base. Two new Warthogs never before seen in the original campaign make their debut appearance. The Gauss and Rocket Warthogs are devastating options to take out the Wraiths and infantry units. The Gungoose mows down the Covenant here as well. Clearing out the Covenant outside, you are then tasked to move through Alpha Base and clear out the interiors to get to the rooftops. Up there, an anti-air Wraith is preventing Pelicans from moving in and bringing reinforcements to the Marines currently here. Hijacking it will grant you a plethora of plasma firepower to eliminate the two Phantom dropships inbound on your position. The extended part of the mission, as fantastically executed as it was, ends here, and you're then ordered to find the crashed life pods as you expect to on this mission. The differences here are merely sandbox related, with the use of the Gungoose and the Gauss Warthog to get around this area.
Hit 'em, Marines! Go, go, go! The Corps ain't paying us by the hour!
There are no extended parts of this level here, but there doesn't need to be any for this mission. The Truth and Reconciliation is filled to the brim with encounter changes that make the level feel different enough on its own right, and a lot of them are highly unexpected. As such, not a lot will be said about this level other than the drastic changes to some of the encounters. You'll immediately notice that you have a choice of 5 different loadouts once the level has loaded up. This makes sense because Chief has rendezvoused with UNSC forces and has access to more weaponry, some even captured from Covenant troops. This allows you to start up the level with a combination of weapons that fit your playstyle and give you more control on how you want to slaughter the upcoming Covenant forces. Instead of looking like a dry, arid cliffside, it's snowing here, which could potentially make enemies harder to spot from great distances in the dark. Luckily, we have a remedy to this. Instead of being limited to a simple flashlight and a night vision scope on the sniper rifle, you now have access to Visor Mode on spawn. This armor upgrade fits like a glove on this level, picking out targets from afar that would normally be hard to spot in the dark. Take note that it will eventually lose power if you have it activated for too long and will need time to recharge, so use it sparingly and only when you need to find targets or you're trekking through difficult to navigate terrain. Ranger Jackals armed with carbines and focus rifles finally gave the Covenant a long-range check to your sniping. The Blind Wolves make a return here, and they're just as adorable, ferocious as ever if they're enraged, so just be wary of where they are when combat gets intense. One of the biggest encounter changes to this level is the inclusion of a Wraith Tank at the gravity lift site. This is usually a tough adversary to defeat, and due to the fact that the only explosive weapon on the level is a brute shot, you won't have much to take it down. The best way to handle this beast is using a fallen plasma pistol to disable the vehicle and then board the Wraith via hijacking, giving you access to a tremendous amount of firepower. Note that if you do take the Wraith, an unexpected pair of Banshees will rain down on you, and they're extremely tough to take down with the Wraith. From what I've read so far, they only spawn in if you take the Wraith, but I could be wrong on that. Let me know in the comments if this is true. 2 new variants of Hunter will eventually drop from the ship wielding assault beam weapons, the same kind seen in Halos 2 and 3. Killing them in any of the Hunter variants will grant you access to their fallen Hunter cannons as usable weapons. If you've watched part 1 of this series, you'll know how devastating these weapons can be. Right after the Hunter skirmish, the Pelican that drops off reinforcements shows up to not only deliver a squad of Marines, but weapon drops as well. These were first seen in Halo 2 during the Battle of Installation 05. This allows you to go in with your preferred UNSC weaponry, almost like the loadouts at the beginning of the level. The Truth and Reconciliation itself didn't receive many drastic changes such as extensions to the level like in the previous 2 missions, but there are plenty of new features to run into. The Wraiths that were previously unusable are now able to be driven, but since they're located in a small tight space, you risk being overwhelmed by plasma pistol overcharges, plasma grenades, and a hell of a lot of firepower overall. So in my opinion, it's not worth using this, especially on a higher difficulty. Another new pair of Hunters eventually make it into the room, wielding powerful shade cannons that will tear anything it comes across to shreds. In the next room where you open the door to let any surviving Marines through, a Wraith is being used on the ground floor. Watch your back so you don't die to the splash damage that each mortar produces. Towards the door that leads to the ground floor is the first of many plasma recharge stations scattered throughout the ship. The hangar bay also has a usable Wraith inside it, but it comes with the same risks of using it in tight spaces. Other than that, there aren't really many more changes to the mission overall other than brutes and skirmishers appearing in some encounters, usable armor upgrades throughout the ship, the Pelican dropping off ODSTs that weren't seen in the first game but were referenced in Halo the Flood, and the Golden Elite in the ship's command center using the Halo 5 rep weapon, the Void's Tear. This part of the mission overall remains mostly the same in terms of how the player would go about completing it. And that's it for part 1. I'm sorry that this video took so long to come out, as well as the fact that this part had to be split up into 2 videos. I have a job that takes up a lot of my time and energy, and if I make the entirety of part 3 be one video, it'd be way too long of a video and I wouldn't have it completed for another few days. Again, I apologize for the long wait, and I'm trying to get videos out faster while still putting in as much effort into each one as I can. Anyways, part 2 will cover the latter 3 missions of the SPV3 campaign. This is the Eventual Vatum, and I'll see you on the great journey.